Hello, welcome to Chat with a Founder 2.0. This is your chance to hear from doTERRA founders firsthand on a little bit of their story, what the journey was like for them, what kind of struggles they had, and how are they finding success in today's climate. Today's talk with Katrina Potter. She's one of doTERRA's most recent Founder 2.0s. And you're going to love what she has to share. She shares some amazing little golden nuggets and some tools and resources. I think that'll be really helpful to you. If you like, I have put together a PDF guide, a summary of her talking points and the things that she shared, some links to or books, resources, things that we talked about in the video. Feel free to download your own copy now before you watch the show, before you watch the talk, so that you can take notes as you go along. Hopefully that's helpful to you. Just click in the description of this video. You'll see the link there that you can grab your copy. Other than that, I will turn it over and we'll go into the talk. So let's hear what Katrina has to say about her journey to Founders 2.0. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Chat with a Founder 2.0. I'm super excited today to have Katrina Potter on the line with us. Katrina is one of doTERRA's newest Founder 2.0s. And we've known each other for a couple of years. We connected at a doTERRA, it was a doTERRA related mindset retreat back in, I think it was 2019 or 2018, somewhere in there. And we rode around in the back of a car up in the Tetons. Crazy driver. He was taking photos out of the side window of the car while we were going down the highway. And
I was like navigating a canyon, taking pictures.
Yeah, right. Pictures are important, as long as we don't die from it. So Katrina got to see my crazy, like what's happening. If those of you who know me, I hate letting other people drive. I'm very, I want to drive always. And so to be in a back seat and then also have someone Photoshop or taking pictures of things out the window is a little stressful for me. Katrina was an excellent backseat companion for me though.
It's funny.
Yeah, it is funny, funny stories. Okay. So we're going to be talking today. Katrina, congratulations on hitting Founders. I'm so happy for you.
Thanks.
We'd love to hear a little bit today. I know all the questions going through my head. If you're joining us here today live and you want to post a question in the comments, we'd love to hear what are your questions for a new founder? Because I know a lot of people in doTERRA are still struggling. I was just chatting with someone the other day. They're doing all the things. They are enrolling. They are doing classes. They're doing weekly Zooms. They're trying to connect with their customers. They're posting in their Facebook groups. And yet they have backtracked in their rank. Their income is especially last month, was one of the lowest paychecks they've had in a number of years. And they're feeling discouraged. And so, anytime I'm just one of those people, like I want to always find the people who are having success and find out what's going on with them. So Katrina, I think it's a really awesome thing that you're willing to jump on a Zoom with us today and just talk about what's going, like, tell us a little bit of your story over the last couple of years. What happened to your business in COVID? Did you experience any backtracking or anything like that? How did you go from that situation, if you did, to getting Founders? We'd love to hear a little bit of the story.
Awesome. Well, I first want to say thank you to you for inviting me in, because I think one of the things that is so amazing about doTERRA is the constant desire to collaborate and share within our businesses. And I just think that the community itself is, I don't know, it just always feels so uplifting to be surrounded by people that are willing to pour in to us. But to answer your question, during COVID, so very transparently, I considered quitting doTERRA during COVID. I had a daughter, so I have two kids, and I had my second in December of 2019. So a couple months right before COVID and all of that. And for me, the change up of having two kids and then COVID, it just felt like a lot. And I had said, I think Founders maybe was announced the August before COVID. Does that sound right? I don't really remember, but I remember, go ahead.
I think it was that fall. They kind of announced that it was happening. They just started it in 2020 and then everything went crazy.
Yeah. So when they announced it, because I started doTERRA in 2014, and when they announced founders, there was something in me that was like, yes, I want that. And then I had my daughter, and then COVID, and then all the, everyone has their own experience of what COVID brought into our lives. But for me, my business took a step back, like pretty much everyone else did. I had a lot of people in my team decide not to continue to do doTERRA. And so there was just I think of that as being a really heavy time. And then all of a sudden it was like a fluke deal. I think it just happened because I needed it. I had a referral reach out and say, do you have any interest in life coaching? And I was like, oh, why is this showing up? At that point, I had a 5-month-old, I think. And I'm like, had no intentions of going into life coaching, but also felt like maybe doTERRA wasn't going to be the path. So I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And so I just leaned into, for some reason, this is showing up. I don't believe in coincidences. I think it all aligns in what we're meant for. So I decided to jump into this life coaching. And for me, there was this massive upheaval in my mindset, and that then translated over into my business. And so what I found was, while COVID definitely changed a lot of the environmental circumstances, there was also a lot of beliefs that needed to be shifted in my mind in order for doTERRA to be reinvented. And I think of like Founders 2.0, I think of it more as like my soul 2.0. Like I just felt like there was a lot of limiting beliefs, or a lot of beliefs that were no longer serving me, that needed to be shifted. And it was introduced to me through life coaching. And then it just kind of translated. And I can share more of that as we keep talking. But that's what I found, was that there was a lot of beliefs that were no longer connecting. And once I made that my focus, was, yes, my business, something will happen, hopefully. At that point, I was like, maybe doTERRA, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how it works. But I just poured into, what do I need? Because I don't feel free right now in my mind, in my body, in my business. It feels in a state of contraction. And so really focusing there. So I'll start with, that was the introductory of my story. And then once that started shifting, then I felt massive shifts in my business. And now I'm more in love with my business now than ever. But it took a lot of, I want to say dismembering, but that sounds so graphic. Like just collapsing to rebuild, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The things that I had done prior needed to be reframed. So insert all of the questions there. I know that's vague, but we can talk about it more.
That's a great opening. It definitely gives us, and I think it's important to start with the big picture, because that's, it makes the most sense. And I think that's what a lot of people can connect with right now. But I would love to hear some more details, and I'm guessing others would as well. So like, what was your rank when you got into COVID? And then what did backtracking and contraction look like? And then let's start with that, and then I'll keep going.
Okay. So I believe before COVID, I can't remember how consistent I was at diamond, but I think it was pretty consistently hitting diamond. And then with COVID, I dropped to pretty consistently gold. And then I do remember my massive meltdown. There was a month that I hit silver, and that was the month that I considered quitting, because I was like, whoa, all that work that I did, and it's crumbling right in front of me. And that was that like white knuckle, like no experience. So for the most part, I dropped to gold, but there was one month when I dropped to silver.
So let's pick up there, because I think that's where a lot of people are at right now. No matter what the before rank and the after rank is, a lot of people are feeling that place of like, what the heck? I have worked so hard to build this. And now literally because I'm going to be transparent too. So, and I do work at my business, and yet I'm watching it, because a lot of my team has been in this for 10 years. It'll be 10 years this fall that I've been with doTERRA. And so, all of my builders have stepped away. I'm going to be totally transparent. All of my builders have stepped away. And I love them and I miss them as friends and as people I hang out with, but they're just not in it. And I don't want to keep trying to poke them and ask questions and see what they want to do. I've got to respect that, right? So it's just and then last month I just had I only hit silver last month, and it was my lowest paycheck just last week when we got paid that I've had in like 9 years. And I literally said to my husband, I feel like our business is slipping through my fingers. Like, I don't know, and so let's pick up there, because I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. I think a lot of people do. What kind of actions? Because the mindset stuff I think is super important, but also what was the actions? What happened to help you start to pivot and shift what you were doing?
Yep. So the thing, and it translates into mindset and execution. So I'm going to bring it to both parts. But the first thing, that month that I hit silver, I remember I was asked by a mentor of mine, how do you define success? Because my confidence had completely crumbled. I felt super unsuccessful. To translate it even further, I felt like a failure. Like it just, I was so defeated. And I was asked the question, what makes you feel successful, or what is success to you? And that was redefining that for me, changed a lot, because success previously had been determined upon my rank. And so not seeing the rank was translating into how I was identifying. And so that, I think, is a question for all of us, is to ask ourselves is how do we define success? And how I found a shift in that regard was, success can also be how I show up and how I feel in my business, regardless of how the outside looks, how I feel, and am I in alignment with my values in this business? I was asked another question of, how do you want people to know you? And I wanted people to know me as the person that authentically shares from my heart rather than focuses on a rank. And so asking those two questions, how do I want to be known? And how do I view success? Getting clear with that and aligning with that shifted how I woke up in the morning, basically, with that. And then the next part of that was, so one of the things that was introduced to me during that life coaching curriculum that I was in was viewing life as an energetic field. And so we have low energy experiences, low energy beliefs, low energy thoughts, low energy tasks, and then we have high energy tasks. And at that point, there was a lot that felt low energy, right? Like it was that daunting feeling of pretty much everything at that time, and I think a lot of our lives. But so if we view it as like this energetic field, then we can see, well, what are the low energy things? So I mapped out everything about my business that felt low energy and everything that felt high energy. So what was low energy? Following up for me at that point was very low energy. Sampling was low energy. Contacting was low energy. Inviting to a class was low energy. So if I'm super honest with myself, well, what the crap is high energy in my business? Literally nothing. Like I looked at that and that was the part. I was like, well, maybe this business is not for me. Like very candidly. But then it was, well, why is this low energy? And so I went through the commitment then is, if these are low energy tasks and I do want this business, how can I make these tasks high energy tasks? So if we can raise our energetic state, our business raises its energetic state and we're in a place of attraction, versus if we're in a low energy, we're in a, bless you. See the sneeze and that's you're muted, but I saw versus if we're in a state of low energy, everything is in a scarcity mindset and in contraction. So the two paths are low energy, scarcity, high energy, attraction. So then when I looked at, okay, what's low energy? And it was pretty much everything. Then I asked the question, why? So with contacting, going back to how my definition of success, contacting felt unsuccessful because I had a lot of customers that had quit. So there I was telling myself that I was a failure and I don't want to contact because these people have quit and it feels so exhausting. So one of the things that I did was wrote down all of my customers. I just went in the detailed genealogy, wrote down all of my customers, on a spreadsheet, and I went through and read their name and literally responded to based on how my body responded. So if I read somebody's name and it was a no, I deleted them off of the spreadsheet. Business builders, customers, anybody that was associated to my business, I literally went through, deleted out the people off of that spreadsheet that felt heavy to me. And that was there was no other parameter other than how my body felt. Once I got a list of people that when I saw their name, I responded in a higher energetic state to their names, I made the commitment that those were going to be where I focused my energy. That was my business, because my commitment was I want to raise the energy to my business, in my business. So I'm only focusing on those people. And it took a lot of releasing of the builders that used to be a part of the business. It sucks when a builder leaves, like, because this business is such a connection business, but it's not personal. And I think that's where I had to release it's personal. Like they're quitting because of me. No, they're quitting because it just doesn't align for them anymore. It's not personal. So releasing and trusting that when I released those high energy drains in my life, I was opening up more energetic capacity to bring in the people that I did want in my business. And I think that alone made a big shift in how I felt in my business. So we can talk more about that, but I made that contact list, and then those were my people. And then with, like, let's say sampling, it was, okay, why do I hate sampling so much? Well, usually when I'm sampling, I'm closed off in my office. My kids and my husband are out having fun. Nothing, like, that's a super isolating thing. And I'm tediously dropping 40 like all these things. So then it was, okay, well, how can I raise the energy on sampling or whatever it was? But like, just, okay, how about instead of doing it isolated in my office, what if I put on music and my whole family helped and we made it fun? Or instead of teaching a class by myself that wasn't fun, what if I just asked somebody to, hey, will you just come on and we can do it more interview style? Or you're really good at this and I'm really good at this. Could we do something together instead of it being this, oh, I have to do this. It feels heavy and daunting. So just everything that felt low energy, is this a mindset thing, or is this a how I do it thing? And how can I raise the energy so that every task, it was almost like a bucket list, like, okay, I'm going to shift this. I'm going to shift this. I'm going to shift this. So, all right, tell me what else I can add, because I feel like I just shared a lot, but I'm like, I hope that makes sense.
No, I think it makes a ton of sense. We've got to, I talk about it a lot with my little communities with Fun Oil stuff and those of us working on retention work. If trying to take action feels like either we don't have the energy and because we don't know what to do, or we know what to do, but we have other stuff going on that's making it feel heavy too. And so if we don't know what to do, what can we do? We got to find a way to feel like we can move forward in these different actions that are important to our business. But if it feels heavy, if we feel like we can't do it for some reason, then we're just keeping ourselves perpetually stuck, and trying to get into action feels like trying to pull your feet up out of a pit of mud. It's
right.
It's really hard. So I love how you're kind of picking up each of these pieces of your business and looking at them, turning them over and asking yourself, what could I do different here? What could I do to create ease and flow in this part of my business? So I think it sounds amazing. I love it. And I think you're giving people a lot of ideas that they can take action on. That first is the mindset piece, right? Of looking at, why does this feel heavy? Why does this feel hard? What are the areas of my business that feel hard and heavy? And then it ties in both pieces. Then we get to look at the action piece. Okay, so what can I do differently to help me to feel like I can do this again? Because really that's what it's about, not just for us, but even for our builders. I think a lot of our builders stepped away because they couldn't see a path forward that would work for them anymore. Or before COVID, we all had a certain, we had ways we did things, and those ways were relatively proven, and we knew we could do it. And then COVID happened, and I think so many people, the old ways didn't work anymore, but they couldn't see a path to move forward again. And I think a lot of us still feel that way. So I love it. I love what you're saying so far. Okay. So you did this work, mindset work, changing up how you did things, and then you obviously started implementing. So how did things start to change? How does the rest of the story go? You put these things into place, you started taking action. When did you start to see a turn in the tide and your business start to shift?
I still am turning the tide. I think that this is a constant. So the constant commitment that I feel right now is every day, what can I do to raise my energetic frequency in my personal life, in my business, with whatever. Like I'm constant. I think before it was, oh, there's another thing that feels heavy. And now it's ooh, here's something that's heavy. I wonder what that's all about. Like, let me look and figure that out, like almost get excited for the heavy thing. Cause I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity to grow. So I definitely want to share the message that it is not figured. Everything isn't figured out. I'm still figuring things out. And I think that's the shift is it's not a destination. It's a constant commitment to the growth aspect. But where the story continued then was it was a bucket list. So it was almost like every month I was focusing on healing a part of my business or a part of me that needed attention and focus. And so I felt an energetic shift almost immediately when I had that spreadsheet of all of the customers, because then I went through then I had the people, and then it was when I sat down to work, it was who on this list is jumping out at me? Who do I feel like I have a message for? And then I just contacted based on what aligned for me that day. There wasn't 100 persons name list. It was just a list of names. Who does it feel in alignment? Or what do I know about this person that I could reach out? And so I went into like one-on-one kind of messaging, just in everything that I had learned about how to do this business. I basically threw it in the garbage. For lack of a better thing, like it was all tools. I didn't throw it in the garbage. That's an extreme, but everything that I had learned on the duplicatable model, I was like, okay, I learned all those skill sets and I'm super grateful. And I'm going to show up from my heart and just see where that brings me. And so I had those skill sets, but then reached out for the sake of connecting with people and really going back to that question of what do you want to be known for? That's what I led with. So I felt almost an immediate shift. And then I think from there, the other part that was not an immediate shift, but like a shift was releasing the previous builders that I had. And I wrote a letter, like a breakup letter to those people, just so I could energetically release them of like gratitude, thank you, I miss you, and also onwards and upwards. Like it just felt like an energetic breakup. And then I wrote out, what am I looking for? Now that I've broke up here, I'm looking for a new marriage, basically. What am I open to? What am I wanting? And then when I found those people, then it was nurturing that relationship. So that part was more of a slower progression just because it was attracting those people. But I think I immediately started feeling a shift when I started identifying those low energy tasks and raising the energy. And then that was in 2020. And then I didn't get back to the rank for, I think at least another year and a half, but I didn't focus my measure going back to what is the definition of success. My definition of success was not based upon my rank. It was based upon, am I doing the things that I want to be known for? Am I showing up in an authentic way? Am I leading from my heart? And then forget what the rank says about me, because that doesn't determine how I'm showing up right now. It will, but not right now. So it wasn't like, I just was like, okay, if I hit silver this month, I hit silver this month. If I hit gold this month, I hit gold this month. That doesn't matter. I'm committed to showing up and leading with my heart. So
I love it.
I think that's
there's a book I'm going to throw out there that's helped me. And I've been reflecting lately myself in light of changes in my business and all that. What was working because for me, my business actually grew a lot in the early part of COVID. We we were in Diamond Club. We shifted to online Facebook parties. We enrolled like 500 people in 4 months over Diamond Club. And I placed 14th place in Diamond Club, and all that was awesome. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the momentum that I've been waiting for. This is good. It's amazing. And so, so I've been reflecting a lot on that time and what that felt like energetically, because I do think how you feel about your business, and energetically, if that word doesn't resonate with you, it really is just, how do you feel about your business? And so anyway, I'd read this book, and it's called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And it is some law of attraction type principles. But in there, she talks about, and I, at the same time, I had found another book, and it's called the missing modality of prayer, or something like that. And I'd read both of those books within a couple of months, and it talked about how your feelings are so critical. The one woman was talking about, if you want to attract things into your life, visualizing and mantras and affirmations and all those things, they're just words if we don't feel it. And we want to focus and pay attention to how we're feeling about whatever it is, because if we're focused on what we don't want, feeling wise, we're just going to keep pulling in more of it. And so that was eye-opening for me. And she talked about how we want to find ways to create those feelings in our day, even if it means, so I started walking the neighborhood. This was at the beginning of 2020 in like January, right at New Year's. It was my New Year's, like I read the book, I'm going to start my new mindset stuff in January. And I would walk the neighborhood, and one of her little tools that she teaches you is to just like talk it out, like something, like whatever it is you want, talk it out like it's already happened. But don't just tell the story and visualize it, feel the feelings. It's like, and so I come from like a hardship background. And so it was eye-opening for me, because I've always braced for the worst scenarios, right? And work hard, and I'm going to make it happen, and all those kind of things. And so it was the first time I'd ever like really focused on practicing feeling good about whatever, for me, it started with my business. But I started practicing, I called it pre-celebrating. And so I would walk the neighborhood and talk about how I knew I wanted to do more online because I wanted to homeschool my daughter. So I talked about, these were the things that I walked and talked out pre-celebrating in January of 2020, that my business would shift to more online, so that I freed up my time so that I could be home more, so that I could homeschool my daughter. And that I wanted to have my business, not just me enrolling, but my builders enrolling online, and that all of us had a great community, like all these things I talked out. And then in March, COVID happened, and I thought, well, Diamond Club's over, right? This is the end. And I don't know what we're going to do now. And instead, one of my leaders started doing Facebook parties, and everything I talked about in January happened. And I had been walking and talking it out, pre-celebrating, feeling the celebration and the excitement. And in 2020, we grew a huge amount online. We were doing, not just me, but even people that weren't builders before, they were just little sharers. Even they were having Facebook parties and having success. We enrolled all these people. We placed 14 times. I started homeschooling my daughter. Like all these things happened. There was so much good energy, and I can't help but question. I told my husband, I'm not saying I manifested the pandemic, but obviously like like everything I'd been pre-celebrating came into happening, which is really interesting. But then we got further into COVID, and things shifted, and I kind of lost that practice. And even when I tried to get back to it, it was harder and harder. And because of all the things happening in the world, it was harder and harder to get back to that good feeling place. So that's something I'm working on coming back to. But then at the same time, I had read that book, it's called The Lost Art of Prayer, The Lost Art of Prayer. And he was talking about how he had gone all over the world and studied people from all these different faiths. And he had talked to Buddhist monks who'd been living in, temples in the middle of nowhere that never talked to anyone. He would like trek there and he'll hang out with these people. And he would say, like, what are you doing when you are meditating? Like, I know you're meditating and everything, like what's happening in your head? And he'd interviewed shamans and Native Americans and Aborigines and all these other people about what does prayer feel like in their own head? What are they doing when they're praying? And he said that, and then he pulled in like research from all these different religions. And basically the idea is that feeling how we feel is a big piece of prayer, and that when we pray, a lot of these people are saying they're not actually in their head saying words, they're feeling the feelings of the thing that they're praying for. And so it's just a really interesting time for me to bring both of those together. And in 2020, it worked for me. So I feel like I kind of lost track of that in the last year or two, and I'm working to bring it back again. But it sounds like that's exactly what you were doing, is creating those positive feelings with intention in your business, and then getting yourself there, practicing getting yourself into that positive space on a daily basis.
100%. I love that you shared that. I haven't read either of those books, but I love the concepts that you share with that. And that's one of the things, like, so now in my, because I do life coaching now, and one of the things that I do with clients when they first start is making a vision board, and we do our vision board based on feelings, not on the thing. So how is it that you want to feel? Because it activates both hemispheres of the brain. So said differently, but it's a very similar concept as what you're saying. Like, there's a vision board right behind my computer that's connected to the feelings that I want to experience when I show up with my family, the feelings that I want to have when I show up in my business. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. That's cool. I want to check out those books.
Awesome. So really good stuff here. Okay. So you started doing these things. Now it's 2023. If you don't mind, I'm just thinking of the group and what other questions I feel like people might have.
Yep.
So just some of the practical stuff here before we wrap it up. So you started shifting, you've done all these things. And then, a lot of people are really curious what's working as far as engaging with people. So are you building online? Are you building in person? Do you do vendor shows? Do you do Facebook parties? Do you do online parties? Are you doing Zoom parties? Like, people love to hear what's working for you in your group right now. So what's going on with all that?
That question immediately was like, those questions. What is my answer to that? I think my answer is I do a little bit of all of it. One of the things, sorry, I'm just formulating how I want to respond. And one of the things that I think I felt a shift with was classes previously used to be classes, the class, like the 45-minute to an hour class, like that was the class that I taught. And now I've found a shift into, I personally am aligning more with like a one-on-one type conversation. And sometimes there was a builder on my team that changed it up for me. She was doing little YouTube video shorts for like people that were interested. And she basically doing a membership overview through a YouTube video. So if Claudia purchased oils from me, then I would make her this little video. Hey, Claudia, I see you got this, and this, and then engaging that way through a video aspect. So that kind of like rewired everything in my brain, because I also homeschool and having my nights, that was another thing, like leaving my house every night to do a class, leaving my babies. The very reason that I was doing this business to be a more intentional parent was also totally out of alignment by going and driving every night to teach a class. So I started doing more of these like little personalized videos for people. Some that was like just a video, like a blanketed video that I could send to people if they wanted to learn about it. But then others were personalized videos, and that changed it up, because then it was like, okay, I can do those videos at 5 a.m. when my kids are sleeping, when it feels in alignment to me, but not do it at night when it doesn't feel in alignment. So that was one thing. We implemented Oil Camp, and I can't say enough about Oil Camp, and that has opened our mind to offering different. So Oil Camp, if you're not yet familiar, there's this hosting platform called My Event Cafe, and then Oil Camp is a program, and I wish I had that woman's name memorized, but I don't. But a doTERRA leader created Oil Camp, and it's basically the introductory to using essential oils, but your team creates little videos, and you personalize it to your team. So everybody on our team has made a little video to teach people lemon, lavender, peppermint, tea tree, whatever. So they go through this, and in my event cafe. So it's kind of like Facebook, but it's it's a different platform. So they don't need Facebook. And it's like day one. Okay, today you're going to learn about lemon, lavender, peppermint. It maybe takes them 10 minutes to do it, but they can go right on and watch the videos at their leisure and do it. Well, the other thing with that is I don't know about you, but I feel like I've taught people how to use the top 10 oils so much that I don't want to do that all the time. I'd much rather my brain be used for diving into somebody's hormones or whatever, like those more complex conversations. And so Oil Camp became this automated system that we could plug people in, and it released us from having to do that. So it kind of shifted into that work smarter, not harder thing. So we've been implementing Oil Camp, and then my event cafe. So Oil Camp would be considered one template. So that's a template, but you can make other templates. So we're in the process right now of continuing to make other templates, but how awesome to have all of your brain in there. But one of the things that one of the doTERRA trainings that they said was post-COVID, people want nuggets of information in 2 to 5 minutes. So now it's in this platform that already is existing that we can plug people in. And that has felt fun because we can be creative, but it's also released a lot of that daunting task that is just over and over. And so then again, so if they're getting the introductory information there, it frees up more space to make a personalized video for that person. Hey, let me dive more into explaining about hormones. Let me dive more into whatever the case may be, but I can really pour into connecting with that person rather than teaching them that 101 thing. And then vendor events. Yeah, I do them to network, but we just had one vendor event the other day and 3 of us went, and it was the most fun I've ever had at a vendor event. Typically I'm still working on redefining vendor events. So we had one girl doing a massage. She did chair massages. I was doing roller bottles, and then one girl did Itovi scans, and we had a line around I've never had a line at my table at a vendor event. Like, I just was like, what is this? This is cool. Like it was cool, but that's a recent thing. So that not a ton. And then we've been doing, this is another thing that shifted. So when the whole focus came on duplication, I lost myself because I wanted to keep it the generic 101 class. So I was easily duplicated, but that generic class was not my heart. Like, I just felt like I was following a script so that I was easily duplicated, but I wasn't being me. And so what I recognize for myself is the duplication is teaching a class about what I'm passionate about. So as I have a new builder, I'm duplicating to teach a class that you're passionate about. So I shifted, and instead of teaching a traditional 101 class, the types of classes that have aligned more with, for me, are like how to raise your energy through self-care, or how to use natural, whatever, like changing it up so it's not the 101 class. So what did I just say? So the Oil Camp was a thing, changing how the style of doing a class was a thing, and those little videos. I think those were the 3 things that have really been resonating for me.
I love
in a
it.
very long-winded response.
No, actually, that's perfect. It's brilliant. And I'm glad you addressed all those things. I think, and I've meant to say this earlier, you talked about making that spreadsheet and making these individual videos and connection with your customers. I mean, that's my heart and soul. For those of you that follow along with me in Fun Oil Stuff, it's about creating connection with our oils community, and in a way that feels good to us, that feels authentic to us, and that we feel like we're serving people. And so I feel like you're just like, that's the steps you've taken to figure it out. And so every one of our journeys is going to look a little bit different. We want to pick up all these pieces. I mean, Katrina's really laying out a lot of awesome potential action items for each of us. And so our action steps following for ourselves is to go through here and look for what are those things that I can take that I feel like I can do, and that can help me feel like I'm moving forward in my business again. We have to be able to see that we can move forward, that this is a path I feel like I can move forward on. So maybe that is vendor shows for you. Maybe that is online Facebook parties. Maybe it's in-person stuff again. I miss talking to people. I get energized from oil events. I loved connecting with customers and sitting down with them. And I felt like I needed that again to feel like I was moving forward with my business. And my husband and I were blessed. Circumstances arranged themselves in December that we were able to open a small studio less than 1 minute from my house. And it's a small cozy space. It's relatively affordable. I teach other things that pays the rent for the studio. And then I am able to start meeting with people and doing iToby scans. And I have all my oils out on display. Oh my God, like I haven't had that. I've never had a physical space with my stuff in it. It makes me feel good to feel like I can sit down with someone, they come in for something else, and then we can have a conversation and oils come up. I've got literally oils on the wall. I can pull one off and say, hey, let's talk about this. So it made me feel like this is me moving forward in my business again. And so, Katrina, I really applaud you. I feel like and I love that you're stressing it's a step-by-step journey, and it's not over yet. It's not like I turned this corner and I did this, and this, and then boom, I ranked back to diamond. And, so many of our old success stories, I feel like pre-COVID, were almost had that fairy tale quality. Oh, I found that one builder and they just took off, and boom, my volume tripled, and all there's that unicorn kind of a thing that we can fall into. It's a really great, we've been watching Ted Lasso. So I don't know if you're Ted Lasso fans on here, but it's if that sports analogy is that, we have that star player who they're going to get the goals. They're going to be the ones that run the ball. They're going to be, and then we're just there for support. And and I feel like a lot of us we're looking for that. What's that thing that's going to come in and save the day? Sometimes it's not an intentional thing, but when you're backed against a wall and you feel like you're struggling, or you see other people that come in and, oh, they found that one magical builder, or they had this, or it's easy to look over the bushes at other people's businesses and be like, oh, it's easy for them because of this, and instead COVID kind of flattened the field out, I feel like, a little bit. And it's about, we all get to find our own path forward here. And it sounds like what you're doing is doing it all from a place that you can feel good about, that gives you a path that you can move forward on. And that's what I want for all of us in this business, right? We want to feel good about our business. We want to grow it in a sustainable way that we can feel proud of, that we can, because I can't talk, for me, it's hard to talk about the business if I don't feel like I have a way that I can, if I'm not growing authentically, that feels good to me, how can I inspire someone else to step in and help them find their own way forward, So anyway, it's a lot. We're kind of winding all over the place here, but I love what you've shared so far. And like I said, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. One thought just to piggyback on what you just said is when all of that happened, I literally shut out all of the outside noise because it was in such a low state that hearing all of these like success stories of, oh, I just got that great. I was like, I don't, in the nicest way possible, want to hear that right now. Like I just couldn't. And so then shutting out the white noise for me gave me that place to go introspectively of like, okay, how is this business going to look for me? And I think that's the part with all of this message, like you said, like take the parts that are aligning, but knowing that we don't, just because it's working for one person doesn't mean that it has to work for us or we're not successful. So I think that, and then there was a question of, do I upload the personal videos unlisted? And the answer there is yes. I make it specifically for that. And then the title I'll say for Claudia or for whoever. So they know it's personalized just for them. And then I can see on the back end how many views it's had. So if I see that it's had 1 view, I know that they watched it, versus if it has 0 views, I know that they didn't. So it's kind of nice in that regard. And then this is big relator stuff. Is that high on your strengths? No. My strengths are competition, achiever, positivity. Apparently those are it.
Yeah.
Not memory. Memory is not my strength. I don't know. I have 2 others, but I can't remember. but I don't think Relator is it.
All right, guys, a last call for questions. Does anybody have any last minute questions they can unmute and ask, or if you'd rather just type it in the chat bot, we'd be happy to ask them out loud for you. Beautiful. All right. Well, we will get this video uploaded to YouTube, and it'll be available to share. So you can share in your communities if you want to. Katrina, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I know you worked really hard. Founders was no joke. You know, it takes a lot of, they really made us work for it. And you've obviously done that. And I'm really happy for you. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me on. This was nice to be able
I
to
do have a question, if it's okay. It just popped in, so I said I got to take advantage. In that energy space that you talked about, obviously finding out defining what success is, how do you want to be known? What was your tactic, or what was your way of instilling that into your builders? Because Founders Club is definitely one of those, it's not an alone project. You're not doing it by yourself. You have to have your builders. You have to, they have to rank up 2, they have to get their power of 3, they have to, so it's a lot of little pieces to get the 1,000 points. So what did you do? And I'm thinking in the same alignment with what you discussed already, but is there anything specific more for the builder portion to helping your builders?
That's a really good question. So I think for me, it was not doing. Like, I'm trying to think of the most times.
Like what's coming for me is I'm trying to think with my girls, with my leaders. It's not about me becoming founders. I want it to be a team effort. So I'm throwing that energy out there to them. And I'm even incentivizing them, hey, if we get this, because my leaders are, the rankings, like you said. But anyway, so I know that they have the potential if they just stick to it, and I have my session calls with them, and, I listen to them and all that good stuff, and strengths comes in because I'm definitely relationship builders, but there's something's missing, like what, and that's the part, that because then I look, like and I look at the points, I'm saying that one circle has to be filled. Right. And, it's not about me getting the 250 or the 1,000, 1,500. It's about them. How can we talk about that stuff, right? But it's right. Just. Right.
So I think the shortest response, and if you want to send me a message, I'll put my Instagram on here. So if anybody wants to send me a private message, because I have a lot of thoughts on this, and also I am assuming you're trying to wrap up by noon. Yes. So my thoughts are the shift happened where it became, what do you want? And the whole conversation was around, what is this business capable of looking like for you? And then the people, so then they shared what they wanted. So none of it before, I felt like my role as a leader was to, come on, let's get there. And I left every part of the business like, how can I not? Why am I not? What is happening? Why didn't I? Blah, blah, blah. Like it was all, I have failed, which was reaffirming that failure response that I was talking about before, versus the shift for me that I felt was, what is it that you want this business to look like for you? What is this? What potential is there for you? What do you want this? And then the builders that said, so at the initial point, a lot of the builders didn't want what I wanted. And I was frustrated, and I made it about me rather than about them, versus when I switched that perspective of what is it that you want this business to be for you? And then recognize that our what we wanted were just a little bit off. Then it became, okay, I can hold space and support there, but it's not my job to make your goals where I want them to be. It's about loving you where you're at. And then it opened up like it, and this was like 6-month thing. So this wasn't just like, oh, I asked them what they wanted, and then all of a sudden I felt really great about it. No, I cried a lot and it was sloppy and messy, but I was able to eventually get to the place of recognizing what they want is great for them. And there has to be an open space in my environment to bring on someone that does want what I want, because I was trying to force the ones that weren't wanting the same thing and feeling like a failure at the end. So again, that's a very consolidated thought behind that, but I think that made a huge, like I felt a huge shift, and I see you nodding, so that must resonate. Yeah. But they're there, right? Like they're right in front of us. And so we feel like we would have to make this work, because how am I going to get to 1,000 points? Because like, I remembered that thought, I can't get to 1,000 points. This is who is here. I have to do this. These are the people I have to use, because I can't get to 1,000 points without it. I remember that whole feeling. And then it was, okay, this is where they're at. What if it was possible to have other people show up that do want to run with this? And I saw that shift of okay, there are leaders that want to show up because they want to rally for themselves, not for me. And then we don't have to incentivize, we can celebrate rather than incentivize.
So you did have, I got to hop in here. So you did have new builders come on, and you have some builders that have you've earned some points from some of the people that were still hanging around, still building in their own authentic way. And then you did bring on some new builders that started fresh, and that's how you earned the points with new people.
Yep. So I had the 4 qualifiers for diamond, so 4 silvers, and then 2 of the previous silvers had quit during COVID. And so then I stacked it. So I put builders underneath those silvers to kind of duct tape them to silver, just so I could get back to that diamond rank, with the intention of long-term, these people on my 5th unilevel that are actually building will become my new qualifiers. So there was that kind of pivotal moment. And then, so 2 of my 4 diamond qualifiers are the existing from pre-COVID. And then the other 2 are new builders that when I was tallying up the points and making my initial 1,000 point spreadsheets, I thought there's no way. Like, it was that whole daunting thing of like, but I have to make this old builder work because they're so much closer to gold than a brand new builder. But then kind of shifting in thinking about, well, long-term, do I want to have a duct tape scenario in my business, or do I want to surrender right now and trust that these people that are wanting this will be what I want long-term, with or without founders? Like, that's what Wendy Reifenberg is my mentor, and she's phenomenal. And one of the things that we kept saying was, if founders doesn't happen, what will feel good even without founder? Like, it's about founders, but it's not about founders. Like, at the end of this sprint and whatever I'm doing, I want to love my business. And it was about that part. So duct taping to get the 1,000 points didn't feel good. Aligning with people that wanted this did.
Yeah, I love it. That's amazing. Okay, well, we've taken up all of a whole hour of Katrina's time. We really, really appreciate it, Katrina. It's a huge blessing for us, and I hope it was wonderful for you too to get to share. You know, sometimes it's really satisfying. We've been through a hard journey. Half the beauty of going through hard things sometimes is getting to share with other people so they can benefit as well. So blessings to you and to everyone here on the call. Thanks for joining. Oh, wait.
Sorry, I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Well, I have 2, but if you have to go, it's totally fine. The first one is quick. The letter that you wrote to like your old builders, because that's what's kind of been holding me back, is the energy of.
Oh, you just muted yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay. Just working on letting go of the sadness and grief from old builders who never even officially quit, but just basically started dissipating. I love that you wrote that letter and did that to kind of release that. Is that something that you actually gave to them, or did you just like do that for you?
I just did it for me and I burned it, but I was super honest with whatever it was that I needed to say. And some of it was rainbows and butterflies and some of it wasn't, but I was super honest about it so that I could fully release it.
Okay.
And then I burned it.
I thought you were going to say that, but I just wanted to know because I feel like some of them I could actually send it to them and give it to them because I do feel good, positive things and grateful for them being a part of this also. So maybe it's two different letters though, you know.
Well, the letter, so this is just from a sidebar, like if you're doing the whole raising the energetics of your life whole concept, the letter can be to everyone. You can write a letter to your brother, to your dad, to your mom, whether they're alive,
Right.
you know, living or
Yes,
not.
yes, yes.
A nice release thing. So anyways,
Okay.
what was your other question?
Okay, cool. My other one's just more like, do you find that the way that you contact people has changed since from pre-COVID? Because I feel I did used to do more cold contacting, if you will, direct reaching out with people and building relationships and then asking them if they're interested in learning more. But what's feeling more in alignment and authentic to me is more attraction marketing, but I'm also like learning like the actual sales business way to do that. And I feel like a lot of people have shifted into that. And part of this is my block too of I've enrolled a lot of people and it's like this little lack of like, well, who else do I know? Because a lot of them on my lists are just acquaintances and I'm not going to just go to them automatically. And that's not just like an excuse of like, oh, I'm afraid. It's like it doesn't feel good to me and it won't feel good to them. So has that shifted for you?
100%. And the thing that I love that you just said is what feels authentic to me. And my thought is do that and figure out, but how can I? So one of the things, anytime I catch my brain of, I don't want to, or I can't, the next question is, how can I? So I don't want to cold contact, but how can I create new network? Or there's not people, how can I find more people? Like it's that. And then I noticed somebody said something the other day, their question was, how do you find builders? And my switch is, how do you attract builders? It's about that bringing in, but you had said about the contacting part, and now it's more of referral based, but this was before the refer a friend thing came out. It was just nurturing the relationships because it was from a heartfelt place. And then when I felt like that relationship was at a place where it was comfortable for me to say, do you have any friends that would be interested in this lifestyle? And then having that friend connect me and they kind of do the merge felt a lot more authentic.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Katrina, thanks again. We really appreciate you. We'll be celebrating you and applauding you at convention. I'm sure they'll be celebrating you with all the founders.
I'd love to see you.
Lots of good energy coming your way. So
cool. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.